we actually we should use the recording of what you and me were just talking about, Ken. We've got another episode today, creating the perfect meal plan or not. And that's the topic that we want to talk about. Why? Not because we're a program around fitness, calories or burpees for the reason or the sole reason of just join a fucking gym, it'll make you feel better. It's actually really dialing in the gift of life, which is energy, and the life force that really spearheads a lot of that, which is the food we put in our mouth. But thanks for joining us, Ken. Great to have you on board for our episode today, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's great to be here and looking forward to this one, because this is something that's really holds close to my heart because of everyone. I don't know anyone that's not going after changing shape, changing their cosmetics, looking at that. People are just looking for the magic pill. And that's like, listen, how far will it be away? Like, education on nutrition and nutrition science is so young. And it's almost like, I suppose, if we could use an analogy, like it's a bit like getting man on the moon. Like, we spend all this money like sending this rocket ship to the moon, yet why aren't we exploring kind of the depths of the ocean, et cetera, when things are kind of so much more closer to us than we realize. And then we step into our nutrition realm, and we've been following different kind of eating plans decades after decades after decades, yet here we are with the most amount of technology, and now we're sharing so much information globally at our fingertips. We can kind of tap into different things with social media, with Facebook, and all of these other things at our fingertips. Yet why is it that we're becoming as a global population, why are we becoming sicker? Why are all these kind of terminal illnesses presenting more and more and more? Maybe because, is it really that they're presenting more? Is it because that our lifestyles are becoming so busy that we start to kind of lose touch with reality, and kind of, we're just trying to look for the magic pill, like getting a bacon and eggs in a pill. We're trying to get like all these things in this magic pill because we don't no longer have time to sit down at the kitchen table and have a family meal, because we're always running and pushing ourselves, bouncing off different things. We are so caught up with so much crap in our lives. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's necessary. I get that. But really, we're just not taking any time out for ourselves to really think about our own wellness and our own health. And that's where the problem lies, is that we really aren't thinking about what we're doing. It's more about emotional eating. It's more about just grabbing things on the run. And when we talk about this, it's great that we're talking about, trying to create the perfect meal plan or not, because we have to really start digging into what's working for you. We really have to start to work out, not getting some cookie cutter program off the internet, or what my mate's following, or what my girlfriend, or what my wife's doing, or what so-and-so said, because everybody is so uniquely different. Everybody's lifestyle, social lifestyle, situation, work situation is completely different. So yeah, you might get away with what your mate's doing, or what your girlfriend's doing, or what your wife's doing for a short amount of time, and then it'll come crashing down. So this is really, really interesting topic, especially when it comes to nutrition, because there is no better way to body hack your body to ultimate optimization when it comes to your health than sorting out your nutrition, because nutrition is medicine. Yeah, we're not looking for a magic pill, because there is no magic pill. Pharmaceutical drugs are incredibly good for people, but you know what? This is being proactive rather than reactive. We're going to doctors when we've got a problem. That's crazy. We should be very, very proactive in all of our health, all of our nutrition. We are so wealthy, and as in as far as when it comes to money, but you know what? It means absolute jack shit if you haven't got your health, because you know what? Everyone else is going to enjoy it while you're 6 foot under and potentially you're decomposing. And you know what? In most cases, when I talk to people, shit, the worms more than likely won't go near you because you're that toxic. There is no way in hell, yeah, that you want to go near kind of this toxic waste, because of this is what it's all about. We've got to start to realize that, nutrition is our medicine. We have our own pharmacists here in front of us, and yet we are not willing to kind of take a really good look at what we're doing from a day-to-day point of view, because we are so caught up with so much bullshit in our lives that we don't really kind of think about the consequences. And the reason why we don't think about that is because it's not about what we do today, tomorrow, or over a month. If we have a shit eating kind of day, week, month, doesn't really matter. It's what we're doing over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. It's about really creating change in our life. That's what it's all about.
Mm. I'll tell you what, nothing would be more of an insult to me, Ken, than an animal or some sort of creatures who didn't find me valuable enough to eat me. That would kill me. I'd be some sort of ghost flying over here going, fuck, these guys don't even want to eat me. That's how bad I was.
It's a bit like, I suppose, what's great. I had a friend and not like, actually it was my wife's friend, and he kind of took a year off, and he's a school teacher, and not picking on school teachers, but my wife's a school teacher, you know, and she's a very good one at that, I must admit. And he bought, and he bought a burger. We can kind of say, you know, like, because we're all together. He bought a McDonald's burger, and there was a McDonald's burger, a cheeseburger, and some fries, and he put it in his work locker, and he took a year off, and he forgot it was in there, and he come back a year later, and this is absolutely no word of a lie. He opens up the locker. There was no stench, no stink, no nothing, and that burger had not and did not have a bit of mold on it, and the chips were exactly the same. Now, that to me, there is some serious shit there keeping that in that perfect condition, in that perfect uniqueness a year later. Like, how could that not at least grow a fur coat? Like, how could there not be any like decomposition within that? Like, and that's just one example, okay? But I mean, there are many, many examples with what we may tap into a few over this podcast, that if you can sit something wholesome on the cupboard or anywhere, and that should start to decompose very quickly, whether it be dairy, whether it be fruit, whatever, that shouldn't be able to stay there for any more than, say, 24 hours, 48 hours. I get it, fruit will stay there, but just remember, like, the thing is, when we start spraying pesticides, herbicides, all of these other things, it's about longevity. It's about putting these wholesome foods in cool rooms so they last longer. It's about, and so once all of those things are on there, if we're not cleaning and washing them and we're ingesting those, then that's all starting to affect the permeability within our gut. And so even though we've got two brains, our first brain is really our gut, and our second brain is what's sitting inside our skull. And without knowing what foods or the quality of foods that we're putting in our system and breaking that down, the toxic waste, like, you can be eating kind of really good meal plans, or you think it's really good, but the trouble is you don't know what's going inside your gut. And after a month or 3 months, every time you eat something, or a couple of times a week, if you're getting bloated, or you're feeling uncomfortable, or you've got diarrhea, or you've got brain fogginess, or you're getting headaches, well, guess what? Whatever you're consuming will definitely have a major impact. And these headaches and everything else, and autoimmune disease and everything else, is systemic. It stems from the gut, and it doesn't happen in one sitting for food. It's over a period of time. And then over that 1 month, 3 months, 12 months, this becomes a major problem. And then all of a sudden, someone has some kind of terminal illness. And then all of a sudden they go, shit, but I've been eating well. Well for who? Like, in reality, what we kind of pride ourselves on here at High Performance Fathers Real Dad Movement is really about maintenance. Is 80% of the time you should be eating wholesome, good food, fresh food, local produce. That's what we should be consuming. Yeah. And if you really want to see a major result, as in things change, then it should be 90-10 rule. 90% of the time you should be eating wholesome food. You should be hydrated. I get it that everyone doesn't stick to that game plan, but this is why we're putting the building blocks in, or the stepping stones in, to get you to optimize your health. That's what it's all about. So yeah, so some really interesting conversation we're going to have here shortly.
Yeah. I mean, it's already started. You've kicked it off, mate. How could you not enjoy good quality natural food? Like, who doesn't love a big fat juicy steak or fish or chicken or fucking whatever you want to call it, something with a set of eyes in it that provides a high level of protein for you? Or even veggies. You don't like broccoli? Awesome. Don't fucking have it. But I mean, there's probably over 1,000 different vegetables, but in terms of what you can immediately access and what's seasonable, there's dozens and dozens of vegetables you have easy access to, and you can polish them up with quality salt, butter, all different bits and pieces that might still add into a regime of keeping it wholesome and healthy and natural for you. And all the while actually repairing and restoring a lot of the issues that a lot of us create and impose on ourselves inside in our gut health, which is the primary brain. I mean, we're looking after 10 times the amount of, I guess, cells or whatever you want to call it, which make than what we actually make up ourselves. If there's 10 trillion cells that we're looking after, Ken, and we're only made up of a trillion, we better be playing good hosts, mate. Otherwise, they're going to be pulling the wool over our eyes by running the show, controlling our emotions, our feelings, our belief systems, obviously our health, our immunity, everything, which comes down to what you mentioned then in being the primary brain in your gut health. But I guess old mate, at least he didn't have to pack his lunch for the day when he came back to work, mate. He was good to go. I wonder how it tasted, but it's crazy. And regardless of you guys watching or listening to this, regardless of your belief systems, whether you think human beings are 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, 5 million years old, whatever it is, the answers are relevant. What the relevancy is here is that there have been people around before you that have added to the seed that has made you who you are. You can't cheat that system. And the system itself is you as an organism, as a functioning human being, thinking that you can get away with it by eating products instead of produce. And there is a difference. And the difference is the process. And when you're looking at processes in life, those processes are something that you're ultimately making a part of you. And I know this might sound like a funny example, Ken, but it'd be like if you just went out in some sort of fucking dirty area and went and had unprotected sex with a fuckload of different women, sticking your dick inside of so many different girls, not knowing what they hold and what it entails. The same thing is on the flip side, and what you're putting inside of your mouth. You're becoming part of something that you don't know what the effects might be on the inside if it's not wholesome, or if you haven't done your research properly or looked into it in terms of the quality of what you are now using to recreate your cellular repair, your next run of your bloods every 90 days, and your cellular makeup every, I think it's 7 years or so. I'm sure you can correct me on it, mate, where we actually completely regenerate who we are. I know it's a little bit different. We're probably talking in the perception of STIs and disease, that sort of stuff. But in terms of the concept, it's the same fucking thing. Like what you're putting in your mouth is immediately going inside you. Like you can't, I'm sure there are some methods, but more often than not, you can't get it out. Like that's it. It's part of you. It's going into the building blocks or the destroying blocks that are going to make up the next run of your energy levels, how you see things, your emotions, your belief systems, everything over the next 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, decade. And they wonder why all of a sudden the wheels just fall off, Ken, and everything falls apart one day.
I suppose, mate, the big thing is that because we can't turn ourselves inside out, we can't see what's going on. Like we wake up in the morning, our hair's messy, we've got to go to work, we've got to get dressed, we've got to put something, nice and neat and tidy on, depending on what you're doing for a living. And so we see what's going on the exterior. And so then we have a perception. It's like walking into a shop. Listen, you may not have a financial problem, but you walk into a shop and your hair's messy and you're walking in dirty clothes and scruffy, automatically someone will create a perception of you. And so that's where it's really important that we've got to change that perception and we've got to start changing that thought process. You should never really judge a book by its cover. What you should be doing here is when you wake up in the morning, you walk into the bathroom, no matter what your routine is, what you've set in place. I know when I wake up in the morning, I'll go straight into the bathroom, I'll go to the toilet, and then I'll brush my teeth and whatever else. So I'll do these things. But then my next kind of protocol, my next kind of part of my routine is literally making sure that I wash my face in cold water and do that. But then I'm thinking about the food that's going into my body. Like, how does my body feel? So as I'm brushing my teeth and whatever else, I'll finish brushing my teeth. But what I'll do is I'll do a few stretches. I'll go through a few little movements to see how my body feels. But then, because this is now not so much kind of on the internal side of things, but on the external side of things. So I'll know whether I've slept the wrong way, whether I've got a tight neck or whatever else. And so then I'll start to kind of do a few stretches to fix that problem. But in saying that, then I'll go out into the kitchen. I'll kind of pour myself a glass of water. I'll get that. And then I'll make myself a long black coffee. I'll have some blueberries and things like that. But in doing that, what I'm doing here is I'm just fixing kind of my emotional stuff. I'm not actually thinking about, because it's already ingrained into my routine of a morning, what am I about to do? I'm going for a workout, so I need to fuel my body for my workout. I need to think about what type of fuel am I putting in my body so that I can actually get through my workout? So my short black is the caffeine to give me that nice little hit, that stimulant, so that I can get in and really get energized for my workout. I'm getting the blueberries in there so that I can actually fuel my workout also, but then I'm getting protein. I'll make myself a protein shake with coconut water and throw a few more berries in it, and I'll put a couple of scoops of protein to take with me for my workout. So I'm constantly thinking about how my body's going to react. So I'm putting the fuel in to get the ultimate result for my body to react. So without that right fuel, whereas if I get up and I go through the little stretches and whatever else, and I forget to have my berries, I don't have my caffeine, and I go into a workout and I haven't taken my protein shake, well then my workout is only going to be done 2/3 of the ability than what I would have normally worked out, because I haven't fueled my body for that workout. Now forget about a workout, for instance. Okay, what's my day ahead? Am I going to make 10, 15 calls? Am I going to talk to people about motivating them? Do I need to have my energy levels up? Or am I just going to get up one morning and go, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to sit back and relax, and I'm going to skip breakfast and I'll just have a coffee, and I really haven't got a lot to do. So you know what, I'm going to skip breakfast. I'm going to maybe grab a pie or a sausage roll or something on my way, and then all of a sudden I'm going to start putting shit in my body. So straight away I'm setting my body up for failure, because you know what? The reason why I've done that is because I don't know any different. And so then my energy levels are going to drop. I'm going to feel like shit in my gut because it's trying to break down the pastry, the sugar, the sausage roll that's potentially, you know, crap meat or whatever else, or a pie or whatever else it is. Or I might grab, you know what, fuck it, I'll wash it down with an energy drink, which is constantly full of shit. And then I'll get a nice little spike for the next 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then my body will crash again. So then I'm going to repeat and do the same thing. So I'm waiting, or I'm holding myself out for 2 or 3 hours later. Then I'll grab another bit of shit, maybe a sandwich or something like that on white bread. And then I'll grab, say, an iced coffee or something else to wash that down. Or I'll grab something, you know, shit, I think I'll do myself a good job today. And I'll grab a glass of water, I'll grab a bottle of water, and I'll knock down 600 mils of water for whatever reason. And guess what? I've done my right duty today because I've just had my water. But the problem is, you haven't set yourself up from the morning. You haven't made your game plan yesterday for what you need to do today. Then when it gets to the afternoon, you go, you know what, I'm going to do that little workout. I'm going to go and walk the dog, or I'm going to go and do this. But you feel so shit house that you get through 15 minutes of your workout. You go, you know what, fuck it, that's enough. Because you haven't fueled your workout. So you've constantly fed yourself not enough food or shit. You've got no protein in your diet. You've got no real wholesome food within your nutrition plan, to then get to the end of the day, to then sit down to have a big meal, and you think, hey, listen, I'm going to have a great big steak, or I'm going to have some vegetables and whatever else, and think, you know what, my day's been pretty good. But in reality, the first 8/10 of your day's been shit. And so then, out of the breakfast that you missed, out of the lunch, or the snack that you had in the morning, and out of the lunch. So in reality, we're not at an 80-20 rule for maintenance to improve your wellness. What we've done is a 20-80. So 20% of the time, you've done absolute shit, and 80% of the time you've done shit, and 20% of the time, that one meal at night time, you think, well, I've done a good job because I've had maybe 2 or 3 glasses of water in the one bottle, and I've had a really good meal at dinner time, and that's enough. That is by far, you are going backwards very, very fast. You're going sideways and backwards. You're not really improving from what you did yesterday to today to tomorrow to the next day. Give that 1 month, and then all of a sudden your body gets into this routine. And in 3 months down the track, you've put on 1 to 2 kilos. 6 months down the track, you've put on 2 to 3 kilos, but you really haven't noticed what's going on. And then all of a sudden, you get a little bit sick during the winter months. So you're never, ever really kind of getting yourself even close to being ahead of the game. You're just getting through day after day after day, and then you now become the norm. You're like everyone else, and then all of a sudden, 1, 3, 5 years later, something tragically happens. Not so much to you, but people around you. Someone gets cancer, someone gets diagnosed with some kind of terminal illness, and then all of a sudden, it strikes a chord with you. And all of a sudden you go, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to change, because you're now motivated. Or Christmas comes by and you're excited, and there's all these different festival things going on. You know what? Fuck it, I'll start something tomorrow. You know what? I'm going to make New Year's resolutions. This is the biggest biggest cop out you'll ever put up with, because you're constantly making excuses, and then you're always thinking it's never going to happen to me. I have at least one conversation, and I'll say it once a fortnight, where I'm talking to someone that's someone very close to them that's either got cancer or some kind of terminal illness, and guess what they say? But they ate well, they exercise. Yeah? Bullshit. I will challenge anyone at any stage when they say they ate well, they exercise. What a load of shit. What? You're 20% of the time you ate well, and 80% of the time you treated yourself like shit. Or for the last 3 or 6 months, you change your life around. But what about the previous 35 to 45 to 55 years that you treated yourself absolute shit? What, you reckon because you changed something for 3 months, that's going to change your whole life? It is about changing your education. Is about making sure that what you're doing now is better than what you did yesterday, and what you're doing tomorrow is better than what you're doing today. If you are not monitoring what you're doing, to a certain extent, if you're not trying to make changes in your life and you are constantly making excuses, well, then no one's going to help you, because it has to start with you. You have to start thinking about, how can I make these changes in my life right now? Not tomorrow, not next week, not in a month's time, not wait until, because we're 7 weeks away from Christmas and 8 weeks away from 2022. If you think that that's going to happen then, you are kidding yourself, because it is going to be short-lived. As all the rest of your bullshit times that you've spoken to yourself about, I'm going to start tomorrow, the next day, the next day. That's what it's all about. You need to start today.
It's hard too, because a lot of that, and great spiel, really, because that's what it was, Ken, in showcasing how we all can become victims to ourselves and fall into this pattern and pitfall, which creates an illusion between the feelings and the fantasy of what we think is true and the actual facts of reality, especially when we can't see the insides, and then that becomes a grind, and then ultimately we just burn out. You just end up flat, burnt out. You're running on fumes, and then all of a sudden you don't have the energy, but also you don't have the emotional health or the emotional endurance or mental endurance, which means you're triggered as fuck. You're short-tempered. It leads to fights. It leads to a disconnect to life, to that which you're doing. It leads to then throwing hands in the air, asking different types of questions. Why am I even doing this? What the fuck's the point of all this that I'm going through? And then guys really end up in this vicious cycle, this pit. And a large portion of the answer is just becoming your own alchemist and really going, okay, well, food is the ultimate drug. What kind of food am I taking in a preventative and proactive measure, as opposed to a reactive state of seeking pharmaceuticals just to plug a few holes to get me by to the next year? And things will turn around next year, and things will turn around the year after. And that's a chronic state of disappointment, Ken, that no one will come out of it alive. That's for sure. And it's a challenging period, because a lot of you guys listening to this or watching this, you're probably entering or into that phase now. And there's probably different stages, to be fair, just like what Ken was sharing. There would be, say, if we were to cook up a quick example of stage 1, 2, or 3, and stage 3 is like, yeah, you know what, you could even try and turn it around, but you're probably almost certainly too late in terms of some of the irreparable damage. Or maybe it depends on what you need to create the fastest possible change, which is having the right environment and the right people in your corner to do something instead of doing nothing. And I guess that's the big thing here too, Ken, like you said, and you finished on, it's got to be now. A lot of you guys, if you're in that position where you are getting the sausage rolls, the energy drinks, you're fasting without knowing it, because you're just not eating, but you're not backing that up with wholesome nutrition to replenish what you need for the energy and the day ahead, which means your habits are shot to shit. Like, that's cool. You've done all that. You can own all that and put your hand up. We're not saying that some of you will have your head buried in the sand, but those who have listened to enough of our podcasts are almost certainly waking up to the fact that, hey, if it is to be, it's up to me. And that includes now, right here and today, going, all right, well, what do I need to do? Like, how do I start turning this around? How do I enter a state of having good, wholesome food inside of my nutritional regime, having enough water, waking up first thing in the morning instead of just smashing back an energy drink? Why don't I have 500 mils of water, and why don't I add in some electrolytes, some really fundamental things that have a huge amount of value, Ken? Even for me, when we're having the chat, it was really interesting. Happy if you wanted to dive into that quickly, but Ken and I were just talking before we hit record on this about my routine and regime. We're going, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to bring carbs around the training. All right, I need to get 150, 200 grams of carbs. Like, it was a great conversation we're having, Ken, because It was around having carbohydrates, heaps of them. It was around having fats. It was around having protein. It wasn't a restrictive talk at all that you and I had, which was building out ours game plan that we continually refine, which means it's not restrictive. It's making sure it's inclusive, and I'm eating lots. And that was good, mate. It was exciting. It wasn't like I'm sitting there going, oh, shit. All right, now I've got to cut this way. I've got to cut this way. You're like, mate, you need to have heaps of carbs at night with dinner, Al, and blah. And it was awesome, mate, you know, to see how we, I should have hit record while we were doing that, but it's awesome to see that, you know what, a lot of you guys have a misperception around what it actually takes to improve. And we're here to tell you that it doesn't take a lot of the sacrifice, willpower, discipline, and lifelong self-control that you think. Some of those things, sure, they play a role, but only for a period of time until they become autonomous and a part of your habit and makeup, just like Ken in the morning with his morning routine. He doesn't have to think about it. It's just part of who he is. But what are some, if we're going to look at that, I guess, you know, to give these guys a bit of a leg up to help them get moving forward, what would be your top 1, 2, or 3, or 5? What are the key things? All right, you got my full attention, Alan, Ken. This is the line in the sand, because I know I'm destroying my body and how I'm functioning, which means it's going to equal, because you're living life through your body. That's the vessel that's carrying your journey. It's going to equal some pitfalls in other areas that are important for me with my family, my work, my relationships. I'm all in. What do I need to do for that? I mean, obviously we look after our members individually and specifically, but what would be your top tips for those listening who I guess aren't members, and where do they start? What do they do, mate, with this whole perfect meal plan and getting everything dialed in for what they need?
Like, the big thing is that people need to understand, like, what goes on with the macronutrients. Like, people just don't really get it. Like, the biggest thing is that when people think about weight loss, not fat loss, they just talk about weight loss, is they need to starve themselves. They talk about energy in versus energy out, as in calories in versus calories out. So if my body needs 2,000 calories per day to function, yeah, then they think, you know what, shit, if I have anything less than 2,000 calories, well, then guess what? I'm going to be lighter on the scales the next day. The problem with that is that too many people get into that regime where they think less is better, but what they're actually doing is they're starving their body. So we need to fuel this motor. Yeah, our body, like, life is a gift, and our body needs to be humming at a very, very good level. Like, whereas when I talk about a high level, not so much all the time, but it's about driving our body constantly over this 24-hour period, and we need to be fueling our metabolism throughout that 24 hours. Our body goes into recovery when we go to sleep. So when we go into recovery, our heart rate slows down, but it's still beating. So our body is still utilizing, you know, all your macros, your fats, your carbohydrates, and proteins. What people, like 9 out of 10 people that I talk to, don't eat enough protein. Now, that is like throwing petrol into a raging fire. It just ignites, and people don't understand that once we hit the age of 30, we start to potentially lose 1 to 2% of our lean muscle from the age of 30 through to 75. Up to 45%, and then some, we start to atrophy muscle. We start to waste away. Now, the only reason that is because we don't eat enough protein in our diet. Now, we're not talking about just any particular protein. If you're a vegan or you're plant-based, whatever it is, paleo, there is no reason why you can't be eating enough protein. Now, the minimum, the absolute minimum that anyone should be eating, unless they have an issue with their kidneys, okay? And that needs to be, you know, I need to make sure we keep that out and clear, or they had any diagnosis or anything from their doctor. They should be eating at least 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per lean kilo of body weight. Absolute minimum. Now, if you want to gain muscle, we should be eating anywhere from 2 up to 3 grams of protein per lean kilo of body weight. Now, that's a substantial amount of protein. But guess what happens to your body when you eat protein? You don't gain weight from eating protein. There is no way. Like, that, you will not gain weight from it. Now, when we talk about fats, okay, when people are overweight and they're trying to lose weight, good fats in your diet, people think, shit, the first thing that comes to their mind is when you talk about fat is that I'm going to gain weight, I'm going to get fatter. That's where it's completely the opposite to what actually happens. What fats do to the body is they fuel our body through a 24-hour period. at a low like our body at around about 50 to 65% of our heart rate, our body needs fats. But the main reason that we have fats, and good fats, when we talk about nuts and seeds and coconut and things like that, avocado, this stuff, it actually reduces inflammation. So when I've been talking to a lot of our members about keto style eating, that's a very high protein to maintain their muscle. It's a very high good fat so that we can fuel our body and reduce inflammation, and we put them on low carbohydrates. Now, if someone's been eating a high carbohydrate diet for a long period of time, to start to lower those carbohydrates, well then, because their body requires or needs that because they've built a system into their body, what's happened here, after about the third day, they start to get a little bit brain fogginess, they might get headaches and things like that, because their body is trying to constantly be fueled by carbohydrates. Now, the carbohydrates generally are fruits, breads, rice, pastas, potato, oats, things like that. But when we talk about those, all bar one that I just mentioned there, breads, everything else is extremely good for you. But where people fall into the problem are your pastries, your sugars, your sugary drinks, your soft drinks, your alcohol, and all of these other crap things. Now, I'll tell you right now, if you're overweight, no matter who you are, if you just ate your rice, your wholemeal pasta, you had your fruits, you had your oats and things like that, like your potato, your pumpkin, your sweet potato, if you replace that into your carbohydrates and you took out all the other crap of your carbohydrates and you eat enough protein and you eat enough fats within your diet, say if I'm a 2,000 calorie person, if I just ate 2,000 calories, let's just say I'll give myself 2,500 calories right now, but I won't put any of those crap sugars in there, the crap carbohydrates, and I ate, because I'm 80 kilos, I'll eat 2 grams of protein, so I'll have 160 grams of protein in my diet, and I'll have roughly about 20 to 30% of fats in my diet also, so I might have about 600 calories to 800 calories of fats in my diet. In doing that, there is no way in hell, even though I'm eating an extra 500 calories, that I will gain weight. There is no way in hell I will gain weight. And I will absolutely challenge anyone by taking all the crap, non-wholesome food, all of the sugary stuff out of their diet, except for fruit, and except for like kind of those wholesome foods. If I take all of that into your diet and take all the crap out of your diet, I promise you now, there is no way in hell you'll gain weight. I could eat 3,000 calories, without going to exercise. Even if my body weight needs 2,000, I could eat 3,000 calories a day. I'm increasing my calorie content by 50% here. But guess what I'm doing? I'm still eating wholesome foods. I'm still making sure that I do not compromise, and I'm eating my 2 grams of protein per my kilo, like my lean kilo body weight. If I do that, guess what? I don't really care about the weight on the scales moving. My energy levels will ramp up. My testosterone levels will ramp up. My sleep will improve. My every minute of the day is going to improve, no matter what I'm doing. Why? Because I'm replacing shit with wholesome, nutrient-dense foods. But guess what? I want to take one step further. I'm not going into the big supermarket chains and I'm buying stuff that's coming in from Malaysia, China, Japan, all of these other foreign countries. What I'm doing here is I'm buying local produce that's in season, that is grown in soils, that's nutrient dense. Guess why? Because that's the real deal. That's the stuff that I know that is going to plug all the holes within this canoe that has many, many holes because of poor choices I've made through the previous 20, 30, 10, 5 years of my life. I'm now replacing with 90% of the shit food that I've been constantly eating with wholesome food. This is the real deal. Can I put you on a keto style eating plan where you're having 70% literally fats in your diet and a 20% protein and a 10% carbohydrates? Yes, I can, because the fats are going to make up the majority of your fuel, but it's your 24-hour fuel. But guess what I'm going to do? By day 3 here, you're going to find, because you've been laced with so many crap carbohydrates, your body is requiring so much shit. It just wants to refuel that crap. And so what happens by day 3, you're going to feel like absolute shit. I don't know too many people that have gone through drug abuse or alcohol abuse and whatever else. I have spoken to a few of them, and they reckon by day 3, it just absolutely hits you. So this is what I do. I make some modifications. I'll give you some fruit. I'll give you some potato, rice, or whatever else on day 3 to refuel that body so that you don't get that big pitfall. So in all of the nutrition plans that we design, for anyone here with High Performance Fathers or anyone that communicates with me about nutrition and longevity and anything about that, it really isn't about the scales as such in the first 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. Although I know that I can really kind of make a difference on the scales if you've got a lot of weight to lose. But really, I want to go in and build you from the inside out with wholesome, nutrient-dense foods and hydrate you. And then once we start to get into the nitty-gritty, then we can start to deal with bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, gut issues, poor food choices, and all of that. This is really about a life experience. This isn't about a one fix thing. I can put you on a starvation diet, absolutely. But I guarantee you, if I put you on that for the next 2, 4, 6 weeks, what's going to happen here is that you're going to starve yourself and you're going to get into such a rut. I'm going to stuff your sleep up. I'm going to stuff your energy levels up. I'm going to stuff your hormone profile up. And guess what? That 1, 2, 3 months of absolute shit, poor eating, starving yourself, it's going to take me anywhere from 6 to 12 months to fix that shit up from the inside out. So this is why people have got to get it in their head that in reality, I'm going to feed you more calories than you actually need, but I'm going to feed you with wholesome, nutrient-dense foods. You will not get into trouble with this stuff. Your body will start to then work like a Formula One racing car instead of this V-dub Volkswagen, the old Herbie movies that we used to watch at 6 o'clock at midnight. Oh, sorry, at 6 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon after a roast that we're cooked from an incredible meal. What I'm trying to do here is just trying to build this V-dub kind of old style motor into this Formula One racing car to get your metabolism more efficient, to build you incredibly efficient from the inside out. That's what it's all about. Don't ever think that I'm going to give you some crazy ass program that I'm trying to knock 5 or 10 kilos off you in the next 1 to 2 weeks, because that's not what's going to be sustainable for any period of time. It is just going to wreck everything else for you in the long run. I'm not teaching you anything. I really need you to kind of get your head around this. So hopefully that's going to help kind of initially for you.
Yeah, love it, mate. Great points there. And it's really, for those listening as we start to wrap this up, it's understanding that it's tracking the right numbers. Okay, it's a bit of a delicate process, but it sort of isn't as well. It sounds very simple from what Ken's laid out, but you need to find the right numbers to track in terms of the percentages, in terms of the wholesome foods you're having, in terms of just the macros with your protein levels, and not buying into some of the bullshit or really it's almost like propaganda in certain areas of the health and fitness industry, new and old, of what the answer is, and fine-tuning it for yourself, your life, and then understanding that it's a compound effect, isn't it, Ken? It's just building brick by brick. That's all it is, and taking, okay, I'm going to win the next 21 meals. And you can do that. You have that control inside of you. It's either laziness or not looking at making priorities in your life, which is taking you the wrong way, because that becomes a cycle of being more lethargic, less energetic, which means there's less focus, which means there's less prioritizing again. Let's shift that. Let's flick that switch. Let's gift you and give you more energy first, so you can start to have the clarity to go, okay, I need to focus on these key things. I do have full control over them. So instead of saying yes to the bullshit you don't control and then just being reacting in life and all different areas of life, you're actually taking that control and power back inside of your own actions and going, well, this is what I can do. You can control what you put in your mouth. You can control where you move your body. And then whilst you might ignite the spark on desires and feelings alone to set that course from A to B, it is the facts that the feelings will follow. And creating a better set of facts always comes from the pursuit of things that hold the highest success ratio, which is more often than not what you can control. I can try and have something from Ken, but I don't control Ken or who Ken is. So how can I have a higher success rate of an expectation or create assumptions? That's a pitfall. What I know control Al's actions and what Al can do, and use Ken as my counsel, as my guide, as my advisor to go, this is what will serve you best, Al. Now you take that control and ownership and apply it. It's a win-win for everyone. It's why we're so passionate about our coaching program, where it's so hard for anyone on their own, Ken, let alone someone who's in the pit of despair because of poor habits and chronic behaviors, to pull themselves out and really focus on what they need to do. I'm accountable to the tribe, invest in the tribe. I'm accountable, committed, and invested to you. The way that we track our data, what I'm doing with you, you're my coach in this area of your complete expertise and world-class standards, so that Al's getting the best Al can get. And that's something just to understand too, men, as we wrap this up. Like you can change. Like, it is possible. Don't ever forget that. Like, don't just listen and go, oh, that's great, I wish I could, or that sounds good, or I'm motivated from this session that Al and Ken have spoken about. Today's the day. Yes, it is. But know that it is because you are the asset. You are the asset. Stop being your own liability and start being your own asset. And that's a critical thing. But anything, awesome session, Ken. It's been great, mate. Anything you want to, I guess, share as we wrap this up, or any final points to touch on?
Yeah, the big thing is, and like I said, like it's just forever ongoing for people looking for the magic pill, and there's no magic pill when it comes to health. There is definitely no magic pill, and the yo-yo diets and the social media that they put stuff out there. What you've got to realize, guys, is that 99% of the social media stuff, when you're looking at kind of models or whatever it is, like a lot of it's just a lot of bullshit as far as the pictures with social, like with Photoshop and a lot of that crap out there. And it goes for a lot of women too. They get stuck into this rut that, this is the body I want to look like, or I just want to lose 10 kilos and whatever else. What's most important is you really need to kind of fine tune this stuff. And the main thing is to work on a wholesome, nutritional diet. Because at the end of the day, mineral deficiency is the start of all disease. And that's really where it comes from. And without having wholesome foods, you're way behind the eight ball. And it only takes a very short period of time to be mineral deficient because of poor choices and not making adjustments in your nutrition plan to really become an unwell person. And this is why you need to be very, very proactive rather than reactive. You should never really be waiting to get sick. That's really what it's all about. You have to really start now, and that's kind of what I want to lead on.
Yeah, great point, Ken. Couldn't agree more. Take the time now, if you're listening to this or watching this, and you know that you still have breath in your lungs, you still have life in the legs, to go, you know what, I can do something about this now, Al. I'm not a complete write-off yet. Take that as the light bulb moment, not the ones that have irreversible damage, or the ones that you can't turn back time on. This is the moment to go, okay, yeah, no, this is it, game on. And start with actions. Thought processes, mindset, feelings, all that stuff's all well and true, and that's great, but it means fuck all if you don't actually back it up with action. And that's a critical thing to really understand, that we keep hammering home to guys. Like, it's all well and true to be the great philosopher, but you're actually nothing more than a shell of a man if you haven't actually shown the runs on the board. And that's imperative. And that's not a judgment of you listening to this or anyone. The only judgment you can really have is a judgment of actions and an observation of those actions or lack thereof. And that's what really defines and separates someone who becomes a true leader in life and builds a legacy, and someone who doesn't and is not seen as the hero to their children, or to anyone for that matter, when the opportunity was there, but it's now past. Take care, guys. Have an amazing day, night, weekday, weekend, whenever you listen to this or watch it. And thank you again for joining us, Ken. Phenomenal episode, mate. Loved it.
Thanks, guys.